Hi everyone, Merry Christmas. And I understand that not everybody out there believes in Christmas, but there are several connotations of wishing somebody Merry Christmas that I think that every human being, regardless of your religious affiliation and beliefs, can get behind. That said, why are you here? You should be spending time with your friends and family. So put your phone down and go spend some time with some people. After, of course, you finish watching today's video, because I need your guys' watch time. Please help me. That's what I'm going to be doing while you guys are watching today's video, so I'm making this in advance of the actual live date of today's topic, which is we finally seem to have gotten a little bit of a nugget of a gift from the powers above us in the form of electronic Form 4s in the NFA space. So if you guys aren't following what that means, I'm going to go ahead and make a diagram here for you so you can understand what the various forms do for the various things that we're talking about in this discussion. And you say, Kurt, so what? It's all government tyranny. I'm like, yes, I agree with you 110%. But this is a system that we're working in. And this update seems to, at least in part, make this a little bit easier for people. Now, I do want to make sure that I meter these expectations because there's a lot of things that I've seen written on the internet that are just patently false. And we need to make sure that the information that we are providing people is accurate to the best of our ability. And I see a lot of things written by people that have absolutely no idea what the heck they're talking about. So today we're going to actually break this thing down for you. The benefits and kind of the falsities of what has so far been said. E-forms for various different forms have been a thing. In fact, as somebody who holds an 0702 license, everything that I do is done through e-forms. So the Form 3s, the Form 2s and 20s and all that sort of stuff happens through e-forms for my business. As an individual, you can submit an e-form 1, but not at this, up to this point, not an e-form 4. So the e-form 1 being the manufacturer of an item, as in creating it and adding it to the registry. Gosh, that's a dirty word. It is a literal registry, and this is what they want to do for everything. So just keep that in mind. The Form 4, which is moving something around on the registry, up to this point has had to be physical paper. Now, when it comes to the e-form 1 system, up to this point, there has always been this thing, yeah, you can fill it out electronically, but you still have the question of fingerprints. So with every form, you have to submit it in duplicate, pay for it, and then also, in addition to paying that sin tax, you have to submit duplicate passport photos and fingerprint cards. The e-form system, up to this point, has allowed you to fix the problem of the passport photo in that you take it in the form of a selfie and upload it. But there's still been this problem of submitting your fingerprints as in physically. And generally speaking, how that works is when you fill out the e-form 1, you get a letter that is generated either through the system or through an email, depending on what device you're working on. They duplicate both of them, but I've always gotten mine through the system because I use an iPhone and it doesn't support the system that they use, so it never shows up. You take that letter and then you put it in an envelope with your fingerprint cards and ship it to the ATF where they tell you to do it. I think you can all see the problem with that, in that you are taking a physical thing and sending it to the government and saying, hey, put this with the other millions of things that you have gotten in. The amount of time that it takes to do that, especially for an inept government employee, yeah, that's inefficient. Now, as of the filming of today's video, this system is not live yet. Hopefully by the time it publishes, it will be live. It was supposed to be live yesterday. It has been delayed yet again, but there's a new bolt-on that goes along with it, and eForms is down right now because they're doing that bolt-on. And that bolt-on is the capacity to no longer have to take that physical fingerprint card and ship it to the ATF for attachment to your application. All digital fingerprint software or devices, use the same file for capturing of that data. And that data can be owned by the individual, physically or digitally possessed, as in you can save it to a Dropbox or something like that, and then upload it directly to the new eForms system. I'm assuming that this won't just be for Form 4s, and it will also move over to Form 1s. I don't understand why they would do that for one and not the other, but you see what I'm going for here. You've now fixed one of those major inefficiencies in the problem. So what are we talking about as far as what's the difference between an eForm 1 time and an E-Form 4 time? Well, it's all dependent on volume, but one of the things that we have to consider is the inefficiencies in the process. Physically moving around paper and all that sort of stuff, moving into different offices, etc., all generate inefficiencies. So if you look at a Form 4 time currently that has up to this point only been able to be submitted physically on paper, you're looking somewhere between 9 and 14 months is what I've seen them come back in. That's a long time and a big stretch for people to spend their hard-earned money on something they won't see for a year down the road. When we talk about a Form 1, as in the E-Form 1, and E-Form 1 is currently taking, I think the longest that I have seen them take is 4 months. I've seen them be done as little as 2 months. So you can see that there is a several times reduction in the amount of time it takes to use an electronic system as it does take to use the physical system. And I'm sure that you guys all understand the intricacies of why that is. So let's go to those metering of those expectations a little bit. E-Forms accounts are free. In fact, I have 2 accounts. I have an individual account and I have a business account. They obviously do different things. I've seen a lot of things written about how people are like, yeah, I'm going to be able to just buy something off the internet, enter the serial number into the Form 4, and the process is started and off to the races. No, that is not how that's going to work, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that device has to be domiciled in the state that you are currently residing in for that entity that you are using as the person who is providing, as in you're transferring it to the transferor to the transferee. They have to be in the same state. So you can't just log on to insert big retailer here and purchase that item and start the Form 4. Now, if you say lived in the same state as a large retailer, then yeah, you would be able to do that. But if you live in a different state, those devices first have to be Form 3'd from that major retailer to a dealer in your area. I know this from personal experience. A licensee in a different state cannot transfer via a Form 4 to an individual or a trust. It cannot happen. Now, I actually don't have any experience with out-of-state Form 4 transfers between individuals. I would assume that that would have to go to a dealer, and then from a dealer to a dealer, and from the dealer to the individual. So you still got that sort of thing to contend with. But if you're purchasing a new item from a retailer, you're going to have to be in the same state as the retailer that you purchased it from if you want to fast track that process. So for people who live in the same state as large retailers, well, good for you guys. You're going to be able to probably do that right quick and in a hurry. But for everybody who doesn't, yeah, you're going to have to actually wait for that Form 3 time to go through. That business is going to have to physically possess the item, as in they're going to have to know the serial number of that item and be able to start that process. Right now, it's really not that big of a deal, although Form 3s, which are the transfer between businesses, are taking an exorbitant amount of time to do right now, which is absolutely absurd. There are 4 pieces of information that need to be had to be able to do that process, which is party A an FFL? Do they have an SOT? Is party B an FFL? Do they possess an SOT? A computer could validate this quite easily. There are only 4 pieces of information that you need to know. And do the addresses match? I guess would be a 5th piece of information, 5th and 6th piece of information that you would need to have. There's no reason that it should be taking more than a month for me to move a Form 3 item between businesses. And that's one of the things that is also slowing down the process big time at the ATF. The business-to-business side of thing, they're really screwing with us right now. So I just want to put that on your radar for anybody who's like, yeah, this should only take So add an extra month for something that should literally take seconds or fractions of seconds to do because of, government. I think there's a recurring theme that you guys can see here that is that. But I just wanted to give this update on the Form 4 system because at this point, this has been in the works for years and it's finally coming through. And whenever it becomes easier for these devices to make transfer, then that helps the whole community out. Remember, and I've made videos about this in the past, that the way we get these items deregulated is for them to be mass accepted. They should be on the end of every single rifle and pistol. And that's how we make them mainstream and ultimately get them deregulated. So that whole I'm not going to do that until they pass the Hearing Protection Act, pipe dream. Not going to happen. Not going to happen unless we participate in the market and when the market creates a situation like this where the government is literally bending to the pressure of the market, that's always a good thing. We're making headway, and that is good news for everyone, even though this is kind of like a false gift in that it was kind of taken from us before it was gifted back to us type thing. It's a small moving of the needle, and I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on not only the good things, but also the things that we should understand for anybody who is kind of wanting to get into the game, so to speak, or is already there and would like it to be easier. And we'll see you guys next week with our regularly scheduled programming. I've got several projects that are in the works that I'll be honest, I've been behind because of Christmas shopping and all the above, so I'm hoping to get back into the grind here pretty quick and produce some good content. Thank you guys very much for supporting the VSO Gun channel, and you can see lots of people who are doing that right here on Patreon and Subscribestar. Thank you to everyone, and Happy New Year.